We know in CSS we have three types of CSS layouts. In the last video, we spoke about the box model, so today we will move on the second one, which is Flexbox. I have in front of you right now a div, which is my container, and inside I have three divs or boxes. Each one has an h2 and a paragraph. And this is the website in general. Now to start, I'm gonna go to my CSS file, and in this main one, I'm gonna say display is flex. Now, if you go to my browser, look what will happen to the elements. They will be displayed horizontally and next to each other. Now, we know that a header and a p element are block level elements, so they form a block and stretch to take out the horizontal space. That means if I take off the display flex, these elements will become block level elements. But whenever I add the display flex, they become or act like flex items, and by default the flex direction is row, that means horizontally. I could go ahead and change it by saying flex direction, and I could say column, and if I go ahead and refresh the browser, it will go back as it was before. But for the sake of this tutorial, I'm gonna keep it as row, okay? As you can see, there's some white space over here and I want to fill it. That's why I will go ahead to each one of these boxes and I'm gonna use something called flex grow. And flex grow will actually grow the flex item. So I'm gonna say flex grow 1 and I'm gonna copy this and add it to the others. So right here, and for box 3, like this, the flex grow of each box will be equal to each other. Let's go ahead and see it. And there it is, we have 3 equal boxes. Now what will happen if I say 2 instead of 1 right over here for the box 1? Of course, it will be 2 times bigger than the other flex elements. But for now, I will change it to 1. Let's say right now, I want dummy text 1 to be in the middle, and dummy text 2 be in the end, and dummy text 3 be in the start. What I can do is, I could play with their order. So I could say order, and because I want it in the middle, I'll say 2. Now I will go to box 2, I'll say order, because I want it in the end, I'm gonna say 3, and this one, because I want it in the start, I'm gonna say 1. As you can see, they switch order. Dummy text 1 is in the middle, dummy text 3 is in the start, and dummy text 2 is in the end. Now for the box 1, right over here, I'm gonna increase the width to 400 rem. Now 1 rem is equal to 16 pixels, so 400 rem is equal to 6400 pixels. Quite big. Now instead of writing width and write 400 rem, I'm gonna use flex basis, and flex basis really is similar to width. So I'm going to say flex basis 400 rem. As you can see, it grew too much, and of course it squeezed the other ones, and of course it will become bigger than the others. Right now the flex grow is useless because it won't do anything. The box 1 is bigger than the others. So I'm going to delete it because it is now very useless. Now by default these elements have same height, even though this one is ending right over here. But let's say I want to change their alignment. What I can do is I could go ahead and write align items flex start. Basically what it did is it aligned it vertically to the top, because whenever you use the align items property, you'll always work based on the vertical axis or cross axis. Now if I want to center it, I'll go ahead and instead of flex start, I'm going to say center. Let me go ahead, go to the browser. Right now it is in the center. Let's say right now I say flex and it will align it vertically to the bottom. Right now, I'm gonna go ahead and paste a new section I've prepared. So this is the new section I've prepared. So there it is, dummy text 4, 5, and 6. Not to forget, because we are working with Flexbox, I'm gonna say display flex. Now I have 3 boxes, and let's go ahead and add for them a width, or a flex basis. So I'm gonna go right over here, say flex basis, and both of them will have a flex basis of 400 pixels. Now let us say I want to add margins between these elements to fill out the white space over here. What I will do is I'll go to my container right over here. I'm gonna say justify content and I'm gonna say space between. As you can see, there's space between each element, and of course it fills up the width, and this is space between. Now if I say space around, notice right now you don't have any space over here, but whenever you say space around, like so, let's go ahead and refresh the browser. As you can see, with space around, we have on the left and right side space, and of course between each flex item. And remember, whenever you are working with justify content, you are working on the main axis or horizontal axis, so it is different than align items. Now, other than space between and space around, I could go ahead and say center. If I go ahead and say center, of course it will center the elements, and of course we will have on the left and right side some white space. Of course, I could also say flex start. So let's go ahead and say it, flex start. And right now, it will align the elements on the left side, like so. Of course, if we say flex end, it will align the elements on the right side, which is this side over here. Now I'm gonna go ahead and say space between. Now watch this. Whenever I shrink the browser, as you can see, they are compressing or shrinking together. And of course, right now I cannot anymore shrink the browser, but my point is they are not wrapping. And I want to allow these elements to wrap. Of course, by default, they are not allowed to wrap, but I'm gonna allow them to do so. So I'm gonna say flex wrap, and by default it is no wrap, like this. But what I'm gonna say is, I'm gonna say wrap. If I go ahead and refresh the browser, as you can see, okay, let me just repeat the shrinking process. Look at this, and boom, it will come back to the other line. And right now, if I shrink it even more, this one will come back to the other line. And right now, instead of a row, we have a column. But as you can see in the example above, if I shrink the browser, they are not wrapping on each other. That's because we don't have a flex wrap property over here that tells them to wrap. Alright, this is it on CSS Flexbox. So we covered the very basics of Flexbox and kept it very simple. Make sure to subscribe and follow me along in this CSS tutorial. Now, if you are looking for a career in the front-end development, check out this detailed video that might help you get started. Or check out the reasons why your PC is lagging and how to fix it.